Honorable Dr. Vijay Bhatkar, Sir, Dr. Nitin Kalmarkar ji, Rajesh Pandey ji, Dr. Anjali Kurane ji, Dr. Sadanand More ji, and Dr. Dhumal, and all the honorable dignitaries on the dais. So, I am very honored that today is a very historic day where the Bhaktivedanta Research Center, maybe I'll just take a handheld mic so that I can move around easier. That very exalted academic luminaries of India and globally acclaimed personalities are sitting with us to launch the Bhaktivedanta Research Center affiliated to Pune University today in ISKCON Pune. So, as Radheshyam Prabhu was mentioning, that Pune is known as the Oxford of the East, but we are looking at a day when, as the research progresses and seeing the kind of luminaries who are sitting here, there is a high potential, and my dream that in future Oxford will be known as Pune of the West. So, yes, Balram Lila Prabhu, you can begin the slideshow. So as you can see that the Indic heritage resurrection is what we are looking at, that as technology is trying to help people control the machines and systems, we are trying to integrate with the values given in our Vedic wisdom, which is basically centered around self-control. Go ahead, next. The case study in China, as all of us are aware, that the world population has increased from 1 billion way back in 1800 to 7.7 billion as it stands today. But it has taken almost 7 centuries for the population the population to double from almost 0.25 billion in 800 AD to 0.5 billion in 1500 AD. But in the recent times, the doubling of population between 1950 to 1987 happened from 2.5 billion to 5 billion in only 37 years. So the world is growing at an exponential rate. Go ahead. And the Chinese Cultural Revolution was trying to transform the way people would think. As they saw that the population has grown, technology has grown, the economy is growing, but they observed that people do not seem to have any ability to control their own emotions, their mind, their senses. Microsoft did a research between 2012 and 2017 and found that the human attention span went down from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. And today, across the world, the internet users have grown, from 400 million in 2000 to almost 4.62 billion in 2020. Not just this, there has been a profuse infusion of access to pornography, and 12% of all the websites on the internet are pornographic. Almost 2.3 billion pornographic websites are there. But the more worrying thing from our perspective is that if you consider the pornographic use by the student population who's below the age of 24, the global average is 31%, but India has 48% of its youth under the age of 24 exposed to pornography in a big way. And therefore, if we have a population which is highly distracted, and in America, distraction causes $650 billion every single year, especially in the form of, huge losses and accidents which happen. Almost 64% of car accidents happen due to distraction. So yes, information is available. Information is profusely available and accessible. But what will that information do if the people are losing their ability to remain absorbed, to be attentive to be focused. And distraction is a pandemic which is going to continue even after the COVID pandemic has been controlled. And therefore, Bhaktivedanta Research Center and ISKCON, they have been trying their level best to help people approach this entire science of self-control in two different ways. When ISKCON establishes its temple, we allow people to access the knowledge of the Gita and our ancient wisdom through a spiritual process, through an informal process, the temple worship, which is the traditional way. India has 2 million Hindu temples. But then there is another way in which this wisdom can be approached, which is through an academic way. And that has been demonstrated in America for the first time. And we will see that China actually understood it pretty soon. And they have instilled the study of Chinese wisdom and tradition in a huge manner all across China, after having reached the peak of economic development, because they saw that economy has developed but we have lost control or losing control over the people. And therefore, go ahead. The second case study is in America. You see some of the top universities across America. I personally visited the university at Utah, from where the famous Stephen Covey, has come up. And even others like Harvard and Princeton and Yale, they were all actually Christian seminaries. Next. And so also Princeton, Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, the foundation for all of this was based on religious studies. So in 1962-63 period, the American Academy of Religion was established. Go ahead. And from 1965 till present, the growth of the AAR, American Academy of Religion, has been humongous. And you'll be surprised to know that today there are 10,000 PhDs in religion in North America. And these 10,000 people come together every year in November during one of the weekends in one city and occupy several hotels and have a conference for 3 days. And that is known as the AAR conference. And therefore, this is a very, very unique way in which religion is being approached. It is not a bad word, but it is a way in which you understand how you as a human being can have complete harmony over yourself and have full control, better control over your own senses, over your own mind, over your own body than you have over your smartphone and your laptop. That can be done through this process. Go ahead. Now, His Holiness Dalai Lama was arguably in exile in India, but his mind was fully active, and he planned that, okay, if Buddhists have been exiled, like they were subjected to various kinds of tribulations in Tibet, but that does not stop me from unleashing an entire revolution of Buddhist academic studies. So in the 1970s, he inspired Dr. Robert Thurman, whose daughter is more famous, the actress Uma Thurman. But Dr. Robert Thurman became one of the first PhDs in Buddhist studies in North America. And since then, more than 100 PhDs in Buddhism have been created in the universities in North America. And I personally visited some of these, like Naropa, excellent university, Buddhist-based university, where all the Buddhist studies are being taught, fantastic. And because of such a profuse exposure to academics by Buddhist scholars, they were also able to express and communicate to the mainstream in North America what Buddhism really is. And today, practically all of the Hollywood stars, if they want an alternative from Christianity or Judaism, they look at Buddhism as a first choice because of the influence of that research work which has happened for a long time. And even when I'm traveling in America, at the airports, so many airport staff look at me and say, "Oh, Buddhist monk?" I said, "No, Hare Krishna monk." "Oh, okay, sir. No problem. For us, everything same." But Buddhist monks, they are famous. Why? Because the approach was academic. Next. So therefore, as the millennial generation is waking up, one of the characteristics of the millennials is they will not accept anything just like that without being logically convinced. So although we have the traditional temple worship model which can continue, no problem, but we cannot remain oblivious to a fantastic opportunity of approaching a huge body of wisdom which can transform human society in a major way through academics. And that is the academic approach to Hindu studies. Go ahead. So the lost heritage of India has been that, from almost 1 AD to 1000 AD, India's GDP contribution to the world was 36%. Then when the foreign invaders started coming in by 1500, it came down to 27%. By 1700, it came down to 16%. And in 1900, it came down to only 1% of the world GDP. That means till around 1800 to 1700 AD, for 1700 years, we were leading the world in terms of economy. So any country which has led the world economy for the longest period of time has been India. But that's not the main point. The main point is, along with being the world leaders in economy for 1700 years, we also managed to simultaneously have the most peaceful and harmonious social system, family system, value system, where society and people in the society were happy, joyful, families existed. Because today the biggest challenge we are seeing is, as the GDP of different countries in the West is increasing, we have almost 95% of adults in France who consume alcohol on a regular basis. Alcohol is responsible for 3 million premature deaths and almost 600,000 deaths in India every year. In the 1900 to 2000 period, smoking killed 100 million people. And then from 2000 to 2100, it's going to kill 1 billion people. Smoking is killing one person every second. So therefore, with all the education, with all the technology, what exactly have we been able to accomplish in terms of helping people control their own habits, control their own dealings? And so a country like Luxembourg, which has a high GDP, is having a divorce rate of 88%. A country like Spain has a divorce rate of 65%. France has a divorce rate of 55%. Russia has a divorce rate of 51%. USA has a divorce rate of 46%. The global divorce rate is 44%. Now you may wonder why Brahmachari is quoting so many divorce rate statistics. Because the point I'm trying to make is, India has the lowest divorce rate in the world, 1% only. Let us hold our claps, because it is as of today. Because the more we are embracing Facebook, the more we are embracing Google, the more we are embracing all the technology from the West, it is only a matter of time when the social effects of the West will also percolate and infiltrate India. So the point I'm trying to make is, parents are always worried about children's education. 2021 is a year where parents need to be worried about the children's culture, because that's going to be the game changer moving forward. And we have the biggest body of soft power knowledge with respect to culture, tradition, that which can transform. Because one of the most difficult things to transform is not economy, is not healthcare, is not technology. The most difficult thing to transform is human behavior. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada in 1966 established ISKCON and demonstrated that spirituality is not just depending on which religion you are born into. Spirituality is as scientific as healthcare. You take a medicine, you get cured. You follow a certain practice, you get transformed in terms of your values, in terms of your habits, in terms of your attitude towards things. Go ahead. And therefore, the spiritual decay which we find has affected to such an extent. People say, you're talking about spirituality and this and that, but what about food? You know, papi pet ka sawal hai, khane ke liye bhojan nahi hai. Are, did you know that almost 33% of all the food produced in the world is wasted? Approximately 2.3 billion tons of food is simply thrown. It is wasted. So we are talking about, making sure everybody gets food. If simply the waste is avoided, if that awareness is created and people have more self-control, that itself is going to save and help us utilize our resources so much more than what we have seen so far. So in 2014, the fossil fuel emissions has grown to 36 billion tons compared to 2 billion tons way back in 1800. And so United Nations, which is a science and data based organization, they only believe science and data. In 2017, when they saw the rate at which climate change is happening, the degeneration which is happening, in 2030 SDGs, 17 SDGs, we are way behind the target. It was a wake-up call. They saw that the fire is growing, and then they reached out to all the spiritual organizations across the world. UN means science. UN means data. That is reality. But UN, the science and data-based organization, has created a specific wing of United Nations called FBOs, faith-based organizations. And then they started having dialogue. And so ISKCON and Govardhan Eco Village is also one of the United Nations faith-based organizations. And recently in April, they have appointed me as a United Nations faith counselor to share with people, to lead a lifestyle of self-control so that climate change can be arrested. And so Dr. Iyad, who heads the FBO unit of the United Nations Environment Program in Nairobi, so I had gone for UNIA 4 conference a couple of years back, and I asked them that, hey, you guys are only science and data. How can you embrace spirituality and religion and, the mullahs and the imams and the priests and the, everybody is coming together, and how is it possible? Both are two different worlds. They said, we have the best of data and best of research and best of analysis. How the earth is on fire, we can demonstrate through hundreds of PowerPoints. How to stop the fire? We need the help of all the spiritual people, because people listen to gurus, not to scientists. He said that. I was shocked. I said, Arey Mama, this is a new paradigm. He said, yeah. When the house is on fire, you have to let go all of your previous conceptions, because pehle jaan bachani. So the rate at which the degeneration is happening, we realized with all the scientists put together, by showing them all the data, people's habits are not changing. So therefore, they acknowledge. So therefore, Prabhupada in 1970s established Bhaktivedanta Institute to show correlation between science and religion. But we don't have to do that anymore, because one of the greatest science and data-based organization, UN, has already acknowledged and accepted and amalgamated spirituality and religion under their umbrella, saying that, please, let us work together, because that is how transformation will happen. So therefore, go ahead. Religious studies in India is overdue, and today the definition of secularism seems to be that no study of religion. And so at the age of 8 or 9, a child learns about proton, neutron, electron, this, that. But is there any way in which in our education system at any point, in a formal way, anybody can understand, can you just let me know in 3 months' time, in maybe 15 lectures, what Hinduism is all about, what Sikhism is all about, what Judaism is all, what is Islam about. So there is no exposure, no method of knowing this. And we have to come above this misconception that religion, spirituality is just for some few private seekers who want to do that in their free time. No, we have to understand the powerful impact this can have in transforming people's behaviors, people's attitudes, help conserve and preserve families, and in this way help society. With all of that data which I shared about the divorce rates, if family as an institution is conserved, many people think family is only some kind of an emotional, emotional discussion. But conserving family has powerful financial effects. When you had, Price Waterhouse, the Goldman Sachs did a study that between 2016 and 2026, India would need almost 1.5 trillion tons, $1.5 trillion of money for infrastructure development. And out of that $1.5 trillion, $800 billion was going to come from family savings. And so some of the biggest economists, they actually confessed that the biggest contributor to Indian economy, more than the corporates, is the housewife. Why? Because if the concept of family is not there, if the affection for family is not there, then you don't worry about the education, you don't worry about the marriage, you don't worry about anything. So why should you save? So therefore, there are so many other ramifications of preserving our culture and values which need to be studied deeply. And that is one of the areas which Bhaktivedanta Research Center would be doing, trying to connect all the dots and approach spirituality through a systems thinking approach. And that's what is important today. So the mission is that let us try to collect, preserve, research, and teach the highest eternal wisdom through the most revered contemporary means and help their effective establishment for the long term in the society at large for the benefit of all. Next. So these are the 4 pillars of Bhaktivedanta Research Center. Collect the manuscripts, because, I was shocked to know that some 50-60 years ago, when a lot of wheat was imported from the West to India, in exchange, a lot of manuscripts were also given, and some of them are still around in the universities in East of America, in the East Coast of America. And this information was shared with me by, one of the people who's involved with things like that. And many times people do not understand the value of these manuscripts, because these manuscripts represent the heritage. They carry those codes, the original codes, based on which all the other contemporary literatures of wisdom have been derived. So to preserve that is extremely important, because then we can actually connect with the original body of knowledge. Then second is preserved through libraries and museums. And libraries are places where people come and they worship these literatures with their intellect by studying them. And then you have a research center where all of this knowledge can be utilized to understand deeper and come up with newer and newer perspectives. And most importantly, how they can be contemporarily implemented. So that's extremely important. And then of course, once you have the good quality research, you also teach. And academic institutions are very, very important. Next. And therefore, currently we have BRC offering MA and PhD program. Officially, we are tied up with Mumbai University. And after Mumbai University, this is the second affiliation which we are having. And we are very, very grateful to Pune University and Dr. Nitin Kalmarkar sir for being so open and going ahead with this collaboration. In the near future, our Bhaktivedanta Research Center at Kolkata, which has 25,000 books and manuscripts, that will be affiliated with Kolkata University. And similarly, we have one BRC in Vrindavan, which we are exploring opportunities of collaborating with Banaras Hindu University or University of Delhi. And like this, we want that current scenario which is there in India should provide opportunities for people to actually connect to humanities in this wonderful manner. Go ahead. These are some of our partners: Stockholm University, Oxford Center for Hindu Studies, American Psychological Association, etc. And, one of the great advantages of BRC is because we are ISKCON and we are connected to a worldwide organization, exposure to humanities faculty from across the world will be enabled by us. And already I met, the GTU president has visited the Eco-Village twice, Graduate Theological Union, Dr. Rita Sharma from GTU, and, Professor Francis Clooney from Harvard Divinity School has been a very close friend and well-wisher for many years. And, Dr. Gavin Flood from Oxford. So these are all, historical names as far as humanities and religious studies is concerned. And they are more than happy to share their wisdom with this body of students who will be connecting with us in the long run. So just to share with you one more very interesting fact that, out of 27 crore students in schools and 3.5 crore students in our college system, almost 13.5% undergraduate and 13.5% PhDs are in engineering. And the second is commerce at 13.5% UGs and 5% PhDs. Management, medicine, IT, law, all these are in 1 to 5% range only. But the largest percentage of undergrads is in humanities, almost 39%. So there is a great opportunity. But the irony is the top IQ people in India, as far as students is concerned, if you go by the admissions, highest percentage people prefer engineering, medicine, management, and this and that. Usually that has been the trend so far. You may be knowing better, sir, but that's what it appears prima facie. And therefore we want to reverse that, and we want to create not just a research center, but this today's occasion is the beginning of a revolution for creating revolution in humanity study as far as India is concerned. And therefore, as we are able to flood, more and more of not just students' population with this knowledge, but also the working population, we realize that what about those who are in their 40s and 50s, are in their career, and now they have made their money, but they have some free time and they have an idea and desire to know more about what is Bhagavad Gita, what is Mahabharata, what is this wisdom. We want to create courses which will be extremely friendly for all such people to be able to register both online and offline, and both in the cities and in the rural spaces, so that access to all of our wisdom becomes extremely easy. Hearing a few quotes, that habit is a lifestyle to be lived, not a finish line to be crossed. One's commitment to the process will determine one's progress. And therefore, discipline is the fusion of intention with action. And spirituality and yoga empowers our destiny to do our best, to be at our best, and we have to be honest and sincere in our efforts in whatever we do. So if we don't stand for something, we will fall for anything. None of us, not all of us can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. And life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. And as Churchill said, success is not fatal. success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And everyone thinks of changing the world, very few think of changing themselves. And therefore, it is what you read when you don't have to do that which determines what you will be when you can't help it. So, dear friends, the Bhaktivedanta Research Center is bringing to all of us and to humanity at large a huge body of wealth. What is this wealth? Wealth is the power to choose. Financial wealth is the power to choose how you spend money. Social wealth is the power to choose whom you associate and spend time with. Time wealth is the power to choose how you will spend your day. Your mental wealth is the power to choose where you will focus your attention. We will help you develop the art of getting things done and also leaving things undone, because the wisdom of life consists of eliminating the non-essentials. And the place to improve the world is first in one's own heart, head and hands, and then you work outwards from there. New goals will not deliver new results. New habits and lifestyles will. And there are three things which you cannot buy. You cannot buy fitness, you cannot buy diet, you cannot buy self-discipline. And therefore, dear friends, be detached from the results, not from the goals. And that is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Setting goals increases your focus, but worrying about results, it distracts you from your focus. And therefore, to relish satisfaction, replace expectation with appreciation. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, but while loving someone deeply gives you courage. And faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. Attitude is greater than accomplishment. And the Bhaktivedanta Research Center helps each one of us increase our flexibility, selflessness, forgiveness, obedience, and dependence on each other and on our ancient wisdom in provoking situations. And as we are able to improve our self-control, we are able to improve the world and life around us. And with that hope, I thank our honorable guests who have made our Bhaktivedanta Research Center Pune inauguration function successful. And I can see that in not so near future, we will definitely have Bhaktivedanta Research Center as one of the top academic institutions in the whole world for humanities. Thank you again very much.